It is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to...
You always look startled to be on your own show.
I am. 1-800-STEPH-12, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. Former Minnesota's Vikings punter Chris Gluey at the bottom of the hour to talk about Michael Sam Boxeska of the Daily Banter, whom we love, coming up next hour. All right. It's a lovey letter. Looky here from Diana in Ontario. That's in Canada, eh?
Either that or a suburb of Los Angeles.
No, she means the one in Canada.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. OMG, listening to the podcast, $4.95 a month if you buy your advance. Thanks. Oops, sorry, I meant to do that one. No crickets. You don't get any crickets. How's that food, Jim? Is that good? Okay. When I heard Becky in Chicago say she was the official certified veterinary technician of the Stephanie Miller Show. Actually, I could have done that for that one because I don't know if they treat crickets, but...
Probably not.
It's like Foley gone wrong. Now that I've graduated from vet school, I'm really ready and truly able to be the official militant veterinarian of the Stephanie Miller Show. I'm not all that far from Chicago. Surely Becky and I can meet up at some point, perhaps at a Chicago sexy liberal show. Can we make that happen? P.S. Fred and Max are handsome and romantic. That's how you know you're going to get your letter read. Yeah, go to Chicago. Come on.
Chicago, in the coming months, let's see where we can make progress together. Let's make this a year of... Let's make this a year of sexy liberals. That's what most Americans want.
That's right. Land of Lincoln, home of our president. On April 26th, the Stephanie Miller Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour is making its triumphant return to Chicago.
It should read, tonight only,
Stephanie Miller's
triumphant return.
John Fugelsang, Carlos Alazraqui, and progressive radio and television star Stephanie Miller will perform live at the world-famous Chicago Theater. Tickets are available at Ticketmaster.com and at the Chicago Theater box office. Don't miss Stephanie Miller's own twist on Chicago-style politics.
Politics ain't beanbag.
That's the Stephanie Miller Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour, live April 26th at the Chicago Theater. Get your tickets now. Go to Ticketmaster.com.
All right, yay, get it. And don't forget all the upcoming, this is the very first Sexy Liberal 2014. The whole Sexy Liberal family will be there. Jim Ward, Chris LeBoy, John and Carlos, everybody will be in Phoenix for the very first one this Saturday. Very few tickets left. Fort Lauderdale coming up in 2 weeks, March 1st. Madison already sold out in March, then Chicago up in April, and Albuquerque in May. And yet another announcement, Friday.
Yep. Wow.
Oh, wow. Look, more love letters, technologically based. Beverly says, I lost you in Los Angeles, then I searched high low and I found you. I listened through the interwebs on TuneIn. You complete me.
Aw.
I will find you.
That's what happened. No matter what occurred, she found me.
Yep.
Listen, if you know I'm with the technology. People, get with it. I didn't know an armband could free me like that. Don't make a Nazi joke. It's an armband that holds my phone.
You're one of those people that wears an armband, aren't you?
When I hike, I have 2 leashes. I have the TuneIn app you put on my phone. With ProgressiveVoices.com. I have some of my other fine stations in there.
Right.
I have the iHeart app, so I can listen to my Randy Rhodes.
Yep.
17 after.
Yeah, so I know what time it is. See, you don't have a watch. I have Randy. Okay, anyway, because we have the mic, 92.1 FM in Madison, our fabulous station, 880 AM Revolution in Asheville, North Carolina, 1350 out of Albuquerque I listen to almost every day on iHeart as well, when I'm not on Progressive Voices. Bill in Sonoma, I love a man from wine country. Hi,
Wine country.
I thought we were going to Florida.
My glass is empty.
Right, Primus wants to go to wine country.
He's already there.
We're just wondering if the whole family sounds like, hi, Mrs. Priebus. I'd be whiny if I was Mrs. Priebus.
Who wouldn't?
Thanks for getting on with Progressive Voices. Not only does it allow me to continue to stream your show to ease the pain of waking up in the collapse of the LA 4 right-wing stations now.
Yep.
But it's given me a way to listen to Bill Press, Mike Malloy, and others. Still finding voices I like here, especially when I can't sleep. Who knows what voices in your head those are about.
Mike Malloy helps you sleep?
He's very soothing to some people.
Okay. All right. He can be a little loud.
He's like your id. You don't have to do it. He'll do it for you.
He can be loud.
Right. I've also ordered through ProFlowers at least a couple times with your order code thingy. Order thingy.
Which is Stephanie.
Is the code. Right.
Yes.
All right. Oh, my God. We didn't get to this in honor of the 18 new subpoenas in the Chris Christie Bridgegate thing.
Yep.
Did you see this? We missed this yesterday. The most New Jersey correction ever. Mediaite brings us. If all you know about New Jersey is what you've seen on The Sopranos and Boardwalk Empire, well, you wouldn't be far off from the real thing. So when you see this classic correction in the Star Ledger, it's pretty clear this is the most New Jersey correction ever. The paper posted a profile of Chris Christie, spokesman known for his profanity-laced tirades about stories he deems unflattering or unfair to Christie. For example, the Star Ledger reported in one of the Bridgegate emails he called Port Authority Executive Director Patrick Boy a piece of crap.
Okay.
That's where this correction came in, this only in New Jersey correction. An earlier version of the story incorrectly stated Druinick referred to the Port Authority Executive Director as a piece of crap. While Druinick did call him a piece of excrement, it was David Wildstein who referred to the Executive Director as a piece of crap.
Gotcha.
Well, that changes everything.
Okay.
How's that for a correction? Not only do we need to clarify the exact language of what kind of human body waste Boy was referred to as, but the fact that they apparently confused the one guy who called him a piece of crap with the other guy who called him a piece of crap.
Gotcha.
Classic Jersey.
Maybe that town rips the bones from your back.
I've heard
It's a
that.
death trap. It's a suicide line.
Yeah.
You really got to get out when you're young.
Yeah, I'm just saying. And I'm sure maybe these 18 subpoenas, Chris, will get to the Christie Code that we have discussed, which is, from Sopranos. Right, or The Godfather. They don't ever say, could you go please kill that gentleman for me? Or why don't you shut down the George Washington Bridge? There's a code. Time to take Big Pussy for a boat ride. You know what I'm saying? You can play the game at home.
Did we ever determine where that nose thing came
I
from?
think Ariana needs to go take a ride to see Christopher.
I think it means
He had an accident, and she's about to have one too. Yes.
you're going to be blown away. Is the idea, I think. Yeah.
I don't. Now I've forgotten what everybody said that means.
Or
but,
blown up.
it's a mob thing.
We have to do with blowing.
Was that ever done in a mob movie or TV show?
Yeah, I think it was. We covered this last time, and now I've totally forgotten.
All right.
All right.
I think it was in Roger Rabbit.
Ah. Well,
Right. Thank you.
No.
Please.
Yeah. One of the weasels did it.
No, that is not correct.
No? Okay.
Okay. I mentioned this last hour, but I love this. This is a party in disarray, the Republican Party. Karl Rove to Rand Paul. Enough already with Monica Lewinsky. What are you doing, you numbskull?
Why, I ought to.
One of the only times I'm ever going to agree with Karl Rove. I'm like, don't give him good advice. Go with that.
Yeah.
Because, by the way, as everybody has said, isn't that going to backfire big time? People felt sympathy for Hillary, but she didn't do what?
Yeah. Towards the end
That's
of
when her approval ratings
Right.
And towards the end of the scandal, that's when Bill Clinton had the highest approval ratings of his career. It was
Right.
like 75% or something
And now
like
Rand
that.
Paul's like, anyone that has Bill Clinton funded, they need to give the money back.
Yeah.
Nice try. Yeah, Karl Rove has some advice for Kentucky Senator Rand Paul. If
He
you're
needs
going
to
to
get
run
his money back from that toupee.
right, that's something you might want to check into. Is it supposed to go like this in the shower? If you're going to run for president, stop talking about Monica Lewinsky. He said, I'm not sure Paul has a strategy. Rove also claimed a candidate needs to run on something bigger than that. Yeah, that's what I was. Really, that's your plan for the country is BJ's and Benghazi, which sounds like a morning show that was on in San Diego. Right. There was, I remember we were talking about this yesterday, and there was a show. I wasn't hallucinating. When I was Sister Sleeves on the Brother Wee's Morning Circus on WCMF in Rochester, there was a show with BJ in it. BJ and somebody.
And the bear?
No.
No, that's a different thing entirely. But there was, see?
I think it might be a Brillo pad on Rand Paul's
And
head.
Monica Lewinsky did, in fact, do a morning radio show for a minute when she got famous.
For like 2 days.
Right. And that was the joke, is whether that was the show.
Oh, I listened to that bit. No, we cannot play it on
No?
there.
Oh, good. Well, thanks for screening that.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for protecting me from myself. He said, frankly, Rand Paul spending a lot of time talking about the mistakes of Bill Clinton does not look like a big agenda for the future of the country. I'm not certain, again, that beating up Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky is a particularly good thing to strengthen your skills for the 2016 contest.
Probably not. No, it's a great idea. It's good what you've done, Anthony. It's real good. We love TV night, Anthony.
Carl, it's real good what you did, Rand. Keep going. I hate it when he gives good advice.
Yeah.
Hush. Oy. Yeah, by the way, this is Jamel Bowie in the Daily Beast wrote, Monica Lewinsky?
Yeah.
Why Clinton attacks won't work this time. But he keeps trying it, doesn't he? He keeps dragging that thing out every week, Rand Paul. How about this? Republicans are still working on their argument against Hillary Clinton, but it's clear they will rely on the sense that there's Clinton fatigue. We've heard this, right? This is part of what, Chuck Todd thinks David Gregory might think if he asked
Cokie Roberts
what she thought she was thinking.
What?
Can they get a new cast of characters on every single one of those Sunday shows? It's the same
people every week. This is what Charlie Pierce writes about
so
entertainingly every week. But it's clear that, they'll rely on that Hillary and her husband have been in the public eye too long. Americans want to choose from a new generation of leaders. Yada, yada, yada.
Big gap between the Clinton administration.
Right, and that's what they're saying, that it's the strategy, not Clinton, which is behind the times. First of all, just text from Hillary alone has made her wildly popular with the kids. That was hilarious. A large plurality.
What is wrong with you?
Listen, wouldn't you feel bad if I just had a little brain-related event then, and you just mocked me like that? You try saying plurality.
Plurality.
All right. All right, I lost that one.
Okay.
You're smelling burnt toast or anything like that?
Oranges?
Oh, I did burn toast. Wait a minute.
Oh, okay.
It's Padwoon Sen. Okay. And 46% of people who voted in 2012 are between the ages of 18 and 44. The oldest of these voters were in their 20s during the Clinton administration, and given the Democratic turn among young voters during the 1990s, this is just all bad news demographically for Republicans, are likely to support the former First Lady in a future election. The middle cohort of these voters, Americans in their 20s, were alive in the 1990s but not politically aware.
The president got a PJ. Cool.
These are Bill Clinton got more high fives than anyone.
White House tour. Everyone's high-fiving him.
But they're not politically aware. These are people whose views were shaped during the Bush administration, and they're largely Democratic. And for the youngest of these voters, they weren't even alive during the Clinton years, and if they were small children. For them, Monica Lewinsky is a reference in a history book, and Hillary Clinton is a presidential candidate and a powerful official. Simply, they don't even remember her being First Lady, first of all.
Right.
Simply put, if Hillary Clinton runs for president and she is the Democratic nominee, she'll have a chance to reintroduce herself to an electorate that's younger than it was in 2012 and filled with people nearly a majority who have no memory of her prior time in the White House. Indeed, if anything, given the text from Hillary meme, see, I'm a woman a good paragraph or two ahead of my time. Outweigh her residual political baggage. Anyway, good stuff in the Daily Beast. That's what's going to be, Jim, for the next, how long do we have till the election? It's going to be what does Chuck Todd think about what David Gregory thinks. Right, Cokie Roberts.
Cokie Roberts thinks about...
Right.
What
Peggy Noonan might have thought.
Right.
When Reagan was alive.
When the
Peggy Noonan
birds
has
stopped
nothing
spinning
going
around.
on in there.
I returned the cartoon birds to her, by the way. I don't know how they got here. Peggy's going to miss those. Okay.
I bet you she can pronounce plurality.
No, she cannot, with the amount of Chardonnay that I can tell she drinks. In fact, that'd be a good drinking contest for both of us, the birds. Plurality. You try. Okay, you try. Plurality. Okay. All right, 19 minutes after the hour. Listen up, guys. Valentine's Day is Friday. Yikes. I'm about to tell you the best Valentine's Day gift you can get your wife or girlfriend. Seriously, she's going to love you for this one. Pajamagram has just announced the Sexy Satin Collection. Chicks dig these, I'm telling you. They're luxurious, they're silky, they're sexy, and they feel so amazing. She's going to love the way these satin pajamas look and feel, and so will you. You could call 1-800-GIVE-PJs. Or just shop online at pajamagram.com. There are so many styles to choose from. Short sets, lounge sets, even satin lingerie. And Pajamagram has hundreds of other great PJs, too. Yes, I'm talking hundreds. Like Valentine's Day prints, hoodie footies, whatever style she likes. Sexy stuff you'll both love. Every Pajamagram includes free gift packaging, so you don't have to wrap. It looks beautiful. Right? Overnight and Valentine's Day delivery guaranteed. Visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs. And don't forget, tell them Stephanie Miller sent you. 20 minutes after the hour, we roll along. Chris Cluey coming right up as we continue on The Stephanie Miller Show. Is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 25 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEP-1-2, the phone number. Minnesota Vikings former puncher Chris Cluey coming up at the bottom of the hour. My friend just sent me, a text, and, it said sent from my whatever.
Yeah.
And it says sent from my new iPhone 7. And then it says, don't panic. There's no new iPhone 7 yet. It was just with you.
Oh.
So people would panic and go, I don't have an iPhone 7.
I still have a 3G.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's steam-driven.
Oh, Jim, that's totes adorable.
No wonder I can't iMessage you.
Okay. Dudes, check this out. Teenage dolphins are chewing on pufferfish to get high. It's from the science stack.
Okay, sure.
Hey, dude, check out this pufferfish.
Oh, pass the buffer.
Oh. Jumbo got
They
the puffer.
do. They do. They pass it around.
Do they really?
In case you need any more evidence, the dolphins are just like us. Trademark. Dolphins, they're just like us. Scientists have now observed them deliberately altering their mental states by chewing on toxic pufferfish. Dolphins are getting wasted, you guys.
Oh,
Even better, they totally pass the fish around like a joint, and it is adorable. Scientists found dolphins apparently have learned just how much of the toxin would safely intoxicate them, and they carefully chew the fish and pass it around among themselves.
Wow.
And then they enter into a trance-like
I've
state.
always said if they had opposable thumbs, they'd rule the earth.
But they'd be adorable.
And the
doing that.
Japanese would be scared.
Dude, let's go to sushi and do some slop style. Yeah, that's awesome. That is really awesome. Let's see. After chewing the puffer gently and passing it around, they began acting most peculiarly, hanging around with their noses at the surface as if fascinated by their own reflection.
Pass the buffer on the left-hand side.
Check this out. I'm a dolphin, dude. Look.
Yeah, look at my nose. It's so weird.
Oh.
Look like Spiro Agnew.
All right. I do not believe that any dolphins know what Spiro Agnew is like, Jim. He just went one step too far.
Do you get the angry
By the way, who's the stoner snowboarder that won? He's hilarious.
Oh,
dude, I was totally having some munchies last night before my run.
yeah. He had onion rings.
Oh, that's right. And he had the Olympic rings with his
he Instagrammed a picture of his his onion rings in the shape of the Olympic rings. Like, that's rather awesome.
Oh, I can't wait. Oh, you're good.
Yeah, they asked, were you training last? Did you training run? No, I did not. Totally hanging out, eating some snacks. Hilarious. Mark in Toledo, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hello, Mark.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good.
Good. Hey, I was
Really high
just
on
wondering,
pufferfish.
We're high on
with all this
pufferfish.
Karl Rove, Rand Paul, trying to explain to him about how Monica Lewinsky is bad. Is anybody ever going to explain to him that he's never going to be president of the United States?
Yeah, I love that. Did you see the clip? Remember when he was questioning Hillary Clinton on one of the zillion Benghazi hearings, and he said, "If I were president,"
Yeah.
and
It
I think
almost
Jon
makes you laugh looking at him.
Yeah, Jon Stewart played that clip and went, "Dude, he's like, if I were president, I would have fired you."
And in his mind, it's like, hey, my dad named me after a psychopath from the 50s that he loved. So
Hillary
I must
Clinton
be
was
great.
still coming out of being ill at that point. I was hoping she was hopped up on something, and she would be like, "Yeah, well, if my aunt had a, she'd be my uncle." Don't you wish? Don't you wish? Just saying. All right, hey, I'm going to give you a $50 Sherry's Berries gift certificate. What do you think of that there?
That's pretty nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, pretty.
You sounded stoked.
Dude. Okay, Travis, get his info. You have won a $50 gift card to Sherry's Berries. Visit berries.com. Click on that microphone in the top right-hand corner and type in Stephanie. I just did it yesterday. They're delicious.
Yeah, all right.
29 minutes after the hour. Right back with Chris Cluey next on the Stephanie Miller Show.
Stephanie Miller.
Based on her texts, she's dirty, dyslexic, and wants to 96 me. Semicolon, end parentheses.
You're listening to the best of the Stephanie Miller Show.
Got a future.
It is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 34 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEP-12, the phone number. Toll free from anywhere. Well, Chris Cluey, our good friend, wrote I love his headline. Chris Cluey, calling Michael Sam a distraction is like saying Richard Sherman is a thug, which is the other, big controversy in the NFL recently. Former Minnesota Vikings punter Chris Cluey joins us now. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning. How's it going?
It's good. We have talked about this stuff so much, but, I mean, this really is a big deal, isn't it, Michael Sam?
Yeah, it is. It's a great step forward, and it's great to see that he's excited and confident about going forward. And I think now we're all waiting to see just what happens during the combine, during the draft, and if he does get a fair chance to compete for a job.
Well, you were, I guess Saturday night here in L.A., there were a handful of athletes and others in the sports world that got together for a party, and you and Michael, you were there, right? And Michael Sam was there. And tell me what your conversation was like.
Well, it was really good. Got a chance to talk with him and basically tell him that, hey, this is the kind of stuff you might face in the locker room where, by and large, players are going to be on each side. There might be a couple guys here and there who are jerks about it, but for the most part, players won't have any issues. It's really going to be coaches and front office management that are going to be, what we have to look out for. And I think you see that in the Sports Illustrated piece. But also just to give them support. Say, hey, there's people behind you. There's people who support you.
Chris, do you have a Sports Illustrated sports sneaker phone?
Is the connection not good?
That's not great, but that's okay. So, he obviously talked about how his teammates have known for a while and supported him from day one. You made a good point that a lot of people, noted too, is that here he is having the courage to step out publicly and talk about this, and all of these NFL people were all quoted anonymously.
Yeah, and really it's funny because the GMs and the coaches are always getting on the players saying, hey, don't be the anonymous source in the locker room. If you say something, put your name on it. Keep it within the team. And then here they are coming out and speaking anonymously on something like this, and essentially, outing themselves as bigoted, but they know they can't put their names behind it because they'll face backlash because people understand that discrimination is wrong.
Well, and some of it, it felt so archaic to me. You quote the one that said football's still a man's man game, and it'll chemically imbalance an NFL locker room. Right? I mean, you're like, what are you talking about?
Right, yeah. Is like Donald Draper now an NFL executive? I mean, what's going on?
Well, you were saying that, in your article, you said you weren't surprised by some of these comments in Sports Illustrated, and you made a distinction for him, right? You said if he runs into opposition, it's not going to be the players. It's going to be as you say, the front office and coaching staff who tend to be older and more traditional, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing that people sometimes forget is that in the NFL, the players are composed of young men out of college, and the average career in the NFL is only about 3 to 3.5 years, so you get a lot of turnover, and what that does is it allows you to see changes happening in society much quicker than in other places because you always have that younger generation coming in. And in the front office and coaching staff, those guys are there for a while, and a lot of them tend to be older white men who were raised in the 60s and 70s,
right?
And they have a very specific viewpoint.
Chris, you made a really interesting point. You said you can look at all these quotes in the article. They could very easily have been lifted from a paper right around the time Jackie Robinson was entering Major League Baseball. They're almost word for word. And you say it's like, wait a minute, we've had this struggle before. We already know how it turns out. Why are we doing this again? I mean, that is so true, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's, obviously it's not a exact case similarity, but it's very close in that there is this nameless opposition worried that, it's going to divide the locker room, and, how are people going to deal with it? And that was exactly what was said about Jackie Robinson going into a locker room. And it's really cowardly to say stuff like that when Michael Sam played his entire senior year at Missouri openly gay. His teammates obviously had no problem with it, and they went 12-2 and won their bowl game. It's like, well, if that's a distraction, why wouldn't you want that distraction on your team? Because that's a winning distraction.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, and, I had a caller last hour, Chris, that was speculating on what might happen, that he is a little small for the position, right, that he's playing now, for the NFL. I mean, you made an interesting point in your piece. You said discriminating, against him because of his sexual orientation would violate the NFL's policy, but it would be difficult to prove that discrimination actually took place, right? You said many of them are smart enough not to put anything down in writing where they have an email chain or something like that. So what is your take on what you think is going to happen?
Well, I think what should happen is that he should be drafted where he was projected, anywhere in the 3rd to 5th round. And there is a legitimate point to be made that he's a little small for defensive end in the NFL because most of those guys tend to be a little bit taller. But at the same time, there have been shorter defensive ends that have succeeded. So that's one of those things that it's like, okay, yeah, it could be a problem, but if he plays at a high level, it won't be a problem.
Well, Chris, we talked about this when they let you go. That I mean, it certainly seems you had one of the best records in the NFL, and it is hard to not think this had something to do with it. And as you say, interesting how they call somebody like you a distraction or Michael Sam a distraction, and they have all of these guys with domestic violence and gun violence and God knows what, right?
Right, and there's always that storyline in the NFL. There's always someone doing something, and if the league can survive, Michael Vick and Ben Roethlisberger and Aaron Hernandez and everything else it's dealt with in the past 5 years, then I'm pretty sure that Michael Sam isn't going to crush the NFL.
Well, I mean, the good news is, as you say, this is something that's going to be part of the NFL moving forward. But, you know, you say it is an important litmus test for closeted athletes coming out. You say a disappointing pick would tell us a lot about how the NFL is currently viewing the world. There's got to be, as you imply there, a lot of players in the closet. They're going to see what happens here, right?
Yeah, and I would imagine for any player that's contemplating coming out, they're going to be watching very closely see what happens to Michael Sam, because they look at Jason Collins, and Jason Collins isn't with the team. They look at what happened with with Kerry Rhodes in the NFL, even allegations that he was gay, and he ended up not being with the team. And so I think they're going to watch this and say, okay, if Michael is given a fair chance, if he's allowed to compete and keep his job, then that means that we can come out. But if he's not, then we're risking too much.
Well, boy, and it's hard to, you hate to read the comment section or almost even go on Twitter because, as you point out, Richard Sherman made the point very eloquently that, thug is code for the N-word. I mean, and obviously a lot of people on Twitter just went right with the N-word after that, and you think that absolutely was racism. I mean, it just, and in terms of homophobia, you go in there and read about this. How many times do you see the F-word for gay man? I mean, just over and over again, and you have to hope that the world is watching now, and what we see in the Twitterverse is not what hopefully is going to make these decisions, right?
Right, and that's something where I wouldn't put that much stock in online comment sections and Twitter because.
Listen, I just have to off myself if the whole world was like that.
Yeah, never read the comments, but if it's there are people out there who do believe that, but we are watching, and as a society we have decided that discrimination is wrong, no matter what kind of discrimination it is, whether it's discrimination against religion, against skin color, or against sexuality, and so. It's very much, this is a change that is happening. It's just going to take time.
Well, it is interesting. That's why that point was so interesting. You brought up about Jackie Robinson because, we have this Virginia case, Chris, as you probably know, that could be the one that goes to the Supreme Court and gets, marriage equality for the entire country. But interesting because that's where the Loving case was. And, advocates for marriage equality said the same thing. You can almost lift quotes verbatim that people said about interracial marriage and substituted in the gay marriage debate, right?
Right, and what is it? Those who fail history are doomed to repeat it.
Exactly, that's right.
It's very much a struggle that the human species has had almost the entirety of its existence, where one group of people wants to control another group of people, and eventually the group of people being oppressed or controlled says, we've had enough. We want to have the same rights and the same freedom that everyone else has. And it takes some struggle to get there, but in the end, they get there.
What do you think of the Olympics? I like obviously the gay delegation that we sent. I think there's been a number. Haven't there been like protests here and there? just in different ways. My favorite one was one with on the internet with Putin with pink hair and a rainbow eyeshadow. Yeah. The thing was, get this off the internet. You're all going to Siberia.
It's unfortunate that the Olympics, which the IOC claims is always about sport, it's always there's no politics involved. There shouldn't be any politics involved. They've completely politicized the event by allowing money to buy Olympics and completely ignoring human rights violations that are going on. Which in the Olympic Charter it states you're not allowed to be a host country and engage in human rights violations. And it doesn't just apply to Russia either. I mean, there are countries all over the world, including us, that you'd have legitimate grounds for complaints on human rights violations. And it's, I think, our duty as a society to.
When this just happened with you, do you think that this will hopefully have a different outcome?
Yeah, I think it will, because I think the tide of awareness is shifting very quickly in terms of how these things move, and people are aware of the fact that, hey, this is an issue that we have to deal with. This is an issue that is affecting people, and hopefully it will drive bigger change in the country in terms of, not just marriage equality, but also employment law, where people can be fired from their job in a multitude of states simply because they're gay. And that's something that we shouldn't have in our country, because that's not freedom.
I feel like we already had this debate with gays in the military. You know, I mean, what are Marines like less tough than NFL football players? I mean, it's sort of we've had all these exact same arguments, right? Showers and close quarters and up, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the shower argument because it's such a straw man argument. It's, you know, in the entire history of the NFL, there is not one single recorded shower orgy incident.
Right.
Something like that would have made the news.
Yeah.
It's just going to turn into Caligula immediately. Just the second a gay walks
What's a
in
horse
there.
doing in here? What happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, I mean, this reminds me of, you know, my friend Shelley Wright came out, and, you know, the country music world is not an easy world to do that in. And, you know, and this is the problem, you know, there's a lot of gays in Nashville, and I'm sure in country music, they just, you know, I think that again, she had a tough time like you did, you know, and again, you're a straight guy. So, I mean, it's interesting. I do hope that we have come even further, and it's because of brave people, I think, like her and like you and now Michael Sam, and that's exactly what does move us forward, right?
Yeah, and the thing to always remember is that change is happening, but a lot of times change happens slowly because it is generational change. And that's exactly what's taking place in the NFL is that, you know, you can see it, the owners and coaching staff tend to represent one generation, and the players represent a newer generation.
Chris, that's a good point I hadn't heard anybody make, because, you know, I talk about politics every day, and we talk about that all the time, that in polling, the younger and younger you go, the more, you know, people don't care. And I forget, you're right, the players are at an age where, politically speaking, they shouldn't, you know, this should be less of an issue. So let's hope that's true.
Yeah, and from what I've seen, it is true. I mean, it's a far different league than it was when I first came in 2005, and even that is a far different league than, you know, 1995 or 1990. So change is happening because players are members of society, and they change just along with society. It's just going to take us a while.
Yep. If you don't mind my making an obvious joke, you are a kick, sir.
Thanks.
Homophobes might say Michael Sam isn't a man's man, but a gay man is by definition a man's man. So.
Right. So that's the point. That's the point, is you're a man's man.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And I would love to see a Photoshop where someone puts a picture of Michael Sam looking, you know, mean and tough in the football uniform. I think the Mizzou one that people are using a lot. Put that side by side with Putin on his horseback, bare-chested one. Yeah. And so have an arrow pointing to each one, gay man, not gay man.
Which is which? Gay or Russian? Yeah, I mean, the one retort I loved all over Twitter is I'd like to see any of these cowards on Twitter call Michael Sam a fag to his face.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You go tell a 6'2", 260-pound guy who's ripped that he's a fag, and you see what happens.
Let's watch the fun.
Let's see how that goes. Okay.
Yeah.
Chris Cluey, always a pleasure. Thanks for the great article, and thanks for taking time for us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks
all right. Talk to you soon, Chris.
Oh.
There he goes.
Yep.
Oh. You know the irony. I get a little bit straighter every time I talk to him.
I'm sure his wife appreciates that.
Yeah, she's scared. Okay. Oh, the Les in the baseball hat? Whatever, honey. Okay.
Even Putin is getting straighter.
49 minutes after the hour, right back on the Steph.
And I know he just wants to play football, but I'm proud of him for doing this. And life is changing. Maybe you guys can get me to come around a little bit on my conservative views.
I will gradually.
Thank you.
I will gradually bring you to the light. By the way, even if I have to buy you, I'm going to give you a $50 gift card to ProFlowers. Okay?
Oh, okay.
All right, hang on. We will gradually bring him to the light and bribe him a little bit.
That's right.
As I bring him toward the light. Come fully to the light. 1-800-PROFLOWERS, or go to proflowers.com, click on the little blue microphone and type in Stephanie. Travis! Give him a $50. I think he seems easily bought. I think he's about this close to the light.
I think so, too. Here's the teabagging that did it.
Okay. Oh, by the way, speaking of which, could you take your organ out for me? I forgot. This party, the Republican Party, they are the regressive party. I mean, Michael Sam, Jim, may be in defensive end, but these people...
I'm not defensive. You're the one who's defensive. Shut up.
I find that offensive that you're calling me defensive end. Republican official says gays should be purged from the GOP, blames homosexuality on
Satan. Well, there's going to be a big gap in the Republican Party then.
Wow. Yeah, isn't it becoming like a little SNL skit or actual people in the party? But look at that. Wow, the 80s called. They want their hair back.
Oh.
I'm going to guess she has 3 names.
A little Fantastic Sam's will take care of that.
Mary Helen Sears.
Of course.
Hi, I brought a
casserole to pass. A dish to pass.
A new candidate for a Michigan seat on the Republican National Committee wants gays purged from the GOP and claims homosexuality is a perversion created by Satan.
I think she might be surprised how few male Republicans would be left.
Mary Helen Spears, please and thank you, elected vice chair of the Republican
Is that who you are? What'd you do?
Republican Party's first district last year. Oh, she posted a rant.
Oh, good.
On the Schoolcraft County GOP website. In the post, she claimed homosexuals prey on children, argued that Satan uses homosexuality to attack the living space of the Holy Spirit. Maybe he's just redecorating. Representatives on the Republican National Committee. Oh, you know who else is that guy? Dave Agama. That guy. He's regularly made anti-gay comments. He's also in the same Michigan Republican. Nice. All right, 58 minutes after the hour. Right back on the Stephanie Miller Show.
Miller Show. Steph and the rest of the Mooks are on vacation this week. I'm producer Chris Lavoie, and this hour we have a best of featuring Steph's nephew, actor Paul Fitzgerald, who is also a bisexual rights activist. Here you go for hour number 2 of the best of the Stephanie Miller Show.
Now the whole family's here. Oh, it's like magic. It is the Stephanie Miller Show, 6 minutes after the hour. Look, everybody, it's my tiny baby nephew.
Oh, my goodness.
Paul Fitzgerald.
It's so good to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
In case you're wondering, yes, everyone in the family wears baseball hats all the time. We were all born with them.
Didn't have a chance to get through the shower this morning. I went to hair and makeup, and they weren't in.
You were disturbed that there was no craft services.
No, the craft service guy was on a break.
That's right.
No one sent
my nephew, fancy actor boy.
And my car and driver never showed up. I just had to pat her down here and throw on a baseball cap, and here I am.
If you saw Walter Mitty, by the way, he was one of the bearded holes who fired everybody, including Ben Stiller, at Life magazine. He's beardless now, as you can see.
Oh, great. Now I can see it now.
A great point of reference. I was going to ask you, I cuss like a sailor. It's unfortunate.
Right.
I wasn't raised that way. But so I was going, are we on a delay, or do you beep it out, or what can I do? Because, and I'm going to try to clean up my ass.
Just don't do it.
In the event I slip.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. It's better for everyone.
It's better for everyone. Yep.
I find it difficult to be as expressive as I would like without being able to cuss. Is that
it may be because he's only about 8 years younger than I am, and so when he swore as a little boy, I would, of course, giggle.
Of course you would.
Don't,
Encourage
Paul,
me.
Don't do that.
Responsible in so many ways for me being here this morning. She puts a roof over my head. She's my patron saint. She's like my Medici. I'm like
many subjects to cover this morning. We can do ask Steffi's nephew what it's like to the magic of living with Mama.
Oh, goodness.
You're going to spill the dirt this morning.
I never know what I'm allowed to say and not say.
You can say anything.
I guess I can.
I give you permission to say anything.
No delving into Mama's personal affairs. Just...
Mama. No opening up the nightstand drawers or anything like that. No.
Ooh,
Mama and nephew in the Barker lounges with our TV dinners, watching.
Is that all it is?
Lawrence Welk.
We are. We have twin Barker. We've decided we're going to be buried in those Barker loungers together.
We love our side-by-side Barker lounges.
Yes.
It's almost like the
Fitzgerald
bathtubs in the Cialis commercials.
My oldest sister's Libby's boy. And he is a fabulous, talented actor and director and writer. And so we were saying, I mean, really, what are the chances? Because you're leaving, you're going back to New York this week.
It's like I planned it.
Right. On the cover of, wait a minute, hang on, I meant to do this one, The Magic.
Cover of the Rolling Stone.
On the New York Times Magazine yesterday, New York Times, bisexual male seeking like-minded friends and legitimacy. And you are not only a bisexual guy, you have an amazing, funny script that you and Ben Stiller are shopping, as they say. Ben Stiller's company.
Lingo. Yeah, Red Hour. Ben's company is the executive producing this script that I've written, this 1-hour drama that we're trying to get into the cultural pipeline, get the male bisexual subject matter onto the TV, into the people's living rooms to corrupt the youth and everyone else. And no, really, it's a script that I'm very proud of, and it's subject matter that has not been dealt with in TV land yet, and I did MIDI with Ben last year, and we hit it off, and I took the script to his company, and they just started up a television division, and this great executive, Debbie Liebling, who runs the TV division over there, and we're running with it, taking it out, try to sell it, and get
Debbie,
it on the
please,
air.
press your behind to the radio.
Liebling means darling.
Please, our family needs kibble money, Debbie. Please.
So true.
So it's going to be Will and Grace and Steve?
Well, it's funny.
It is
bring that
hilarious
up.
script. Give the premise.
When I conceived it, I literally, my aspiration for it is no less than Will and Grace in terms of, kind of how that show moved the needle on issues attending to gay things. It's my hope that this will sort of put information and lessen the sting about bisexuality by putting a fun face on it. This character Adam, who's sort of an accidental politician in New York, who hitherto has been just sort of undefined sexually and sort of sleeps around, a bit of a rake. With rakish charm, but then all of a sudden he's thrust into the political spotlight and has to define himself as one does, both politically and sexually, and it actually plays a little bit on the kind of like bipartisan bisexual thing, the idea that we're sort of inherently uncomfortable. We want bipartisan solution, but we're inherently uncomfortable with independent politicians, and I think there's a sort of parallel between that and sexuality,
Right, but then your character starts dating a woman and has to hide it.
Right, it has to be in the closet, which is, and that's brought up in this great New York Times piece.
And you have to have two closets.
Exactly.
Well, because he's named the head of like gay outreach for the mayor's office,
right,
and so he starts dating a woman and he has to hide the.
Has to hide the fact that he's having a relationship with a woman, which sort of plays on, is not an uncommon story, and it's brought up in this New York Times piece, which is just fantastic and a must read. But that's very real to life. What happened to me of defining as gay in my 20s, and then but having sort of clandestine relationships with women, and then falling in love with a woman and having to sort of confront that, and then hiding it. And I thought, this is ridiculous. Why am I having a relationship with a woman? Everyone loves this idea of heterosexuality. I should embrace this. And so, having to sort of come out of a closet twice is I can't highly recommend it, but it's something you have to do.
It's a closet with two doors.
And not to take I'm just saying I can confirm this, Jim, is having lived with him off and on for many years.
Yes. The swinging door.
I've met guys, and then I've heard him come home from a date and complain about how much he spent and he didn't get any from a woman. So I can confirm, beer drinking, March Madness watching, He-Man.
Complicated.
That he is.
Complicated.
It's complicated, as they say. Yeah, this article I'm reading, who knew there was such a thing? The Los Angeles-based American Institute of Bisexuality.
Oh yeah, I know, right? Well, get on board. It's bisexual.org. This place is off the charts. They're really, they have a site called Bi Magazine. They've been around for a while, but they are starting to, really starting to take off. And it's just interesting to watch, the movement is kind of just coming into its own. I mean, which is, not to say that Robin Knox and Fritz Klein on down, there have been these people who have carried the torch for years and years, but I think it's just weird. Like, everyone has their place in the queue. You see the trans kids coming up, barking to get their place and talk about theirs. Like, everyone wants to get their issue on the table. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, get back. The buys are next. And, but I think, I think this is our moment. And so, and this organization that is behind this funding for this research, what's just hilarious about it is that in order to be have a legitimate place at the table in America, you got to be scientifically proven to exist.
We need to call here later. Where is it? The American Institute of Bisexuality. I just want to know what that's like. Hi, is Mike there? No, he's not at his desk. We don't know which way he went. How do you get there? Can you go both ways
on
to
the
get?
Fly.
Well, some folks do go both ways.
How do you?
Wow.
Who knows which way to go to get there?
Tell me, did you think of that last night when you were in bed, Joe Pepper? That just come out of your mouth.
Now, are there going to be stick up the butt buys who object to that joke?
I'm guessing there will be.
I think buys in general have a good sense of humor. You have to, because you're the butt of so many jokes.
Hey,
that's the best I can do. I'm not a stand-up, folks.
Wally has been very, politically involved. You were out there for Howard Dean, and we've talked about this. That I have, talked to friends that are in the trenches of the political movement for marriage equality, and because it's something. You know that I'm not personally acquainted with it.
Sure.
But I'm just saying, and I've said, does this hurt? Because this is what the argument is. It hurts the whole born this way thing that implies choice. But I'm going, but the B has always been an LGBT.
Right.
And I think that's why it is an interesting issue. And I've said this many times, Paul, but somebody called the show once, and I thought it was the best argument I'd heard. They said, were you born with a desire to sleep with someone of an opposite race, or did you choose it? And in a free country, what difference should it make?
Exactly.
So I don't get why, you sent me a piece Frank Rooney wrote about this.
That's the cogent point. Yeah, I'm plugging everybody this morning. But Frank Rooney wrote this amazing piece a couple years ago, an op-ed in the New York Times, where he really parsed out, this idea that the modern gay rights movement has been built on a sort of born this way idea as a way of, if someone's born this way, you can't legitimately discriminate against them. But his point was that, you don't have to be born this way. We protect religious freedom because it feels consonant with who you are. We protect the right to bear guns. There are things that should be enshrined, as rights in our Constitution that enable people to pursue happiness and fulfillment and be consonant with who they are. So, if someone you don't have to be born this way in order for it to be all right. And I think that's been an understandable but a misstep nonetheless that the movement has built, tried to build the entire movement on, because it's sort of like throwing bisexuals under the bus just to achieve, gay right.
Is it a double-decker bus?
Oh, boy.
Okay, here's a part that'll make Jim pay attention. Not to delve into my personal life, but many of you have met my previous girlfriends.
Yes. Let's talk about the previous girl. Now, that's something I definitely have a lot to say about.
Let's talk about them all.
Do we use substitute names? Do we use sort of phone names? Or do we...
He has enough on me to bury me forever.
God, you guys have no idea. It's unbelievable.
But seriously, I've said this before that, is this the dirty little secret we're not supposed to talk about? And, we've heard always sexuality more fluid with women, but
right.
I think every woman I've been with has either been married to a man or been with men,
right.
or, and I don't even know, it would differ among them what labels they use or not, whether it's,
Sure.
And I'm just saying that's the part you're like, are you not supposed to talk about this? Because most people I know have had that sort of experience over their life.
Yeah, I mean the sticking point, and now we're sort of delving into the sort of the internecine LGBT, fighting and stuff, is that there's been this whole thing between the difference as bisexuality exists between men and women, and slowly. Whether because it's titillating for men or what, we've eventually come around to, yes, bisexuality exists in women. There's more fluidity in the way female sexuality presents itself. But, and that's why a lot of the studies cited in this article, this New York Times piece that came out, a Northwestern study in 2005, and then a sort of a restudy of that study, all sort of focusing on male bisexuality, because that's been the sort of sticking point of people saying, well, that doesn't exist. Yes, women, can be bisexual, men can't. And ultimately, what they're starting to learn is that, it really depends on how you build the experiment and the science. I mean, these experiments are crazy. They're hooking up gadgets to people's penises and, showing them porn. And it's like, and of course the question is like, well, there's all sorts of things that, I think in general, I think one of the things that has always struck me is that I experience my sexuality, in what may be considered a feminine way, that romantically or emotionally. Like I find attraction to people that grows out of, an emotional connection or find them intellectually interesting or whatever, and then attraction grows out of that. And people think of that as a very female way to express attraction. But I don't think that's. I think we've overlooked, part of the population.
And
like myself.
Right. I mean, and this piece covers, and you and I have talked about it too. That there's people I love like Andrew Sullivan, but you were saying like Andrew Sullivan doesn't get to define.
Boo for Andrew Sullivan.
He doesn't, but because
he's a polarizing figure.
Right, well, he calls it BS. He goes, I was a bi guy too when I was whatever. It's a gateway.
But that's a perfect point.
And you go just because that was his path doesn't mean he gets to define your path.
We call that universalizing a personal experience, and that happens a lot. Is that and again that's mentioned in this article is that a particular gay man may have had the experience of a bisexual person they knew or dated or whatever who turned out to be gay, or they themselves identified as bi and then turned out to be gay. And so you take that personal experience and apply it to everyone. And of course, that way danger treads in any regard, to sort of in any respect, to sort of say that's true for me, therefore it must be true for everybody. And that's that's bogus. And we're better than that, and I think Andrew Sullivan has been guilty of that, and shame on him if he's listening.
I just saw Dan Savage in Seattle at Sexy Liberal.
Boo for him too.
All right, don't get Mama in trouble with all her gay friends now.
No, listen. In the larger picture, I respect a lot of what these guys are doing, but I just think that it's a maturation process, and we need to grow, but we can't. The buys. It says in this New York Times piece, which is hilarious, that the last. I guess it was a quote from the show Girls that someone remarks that the last two people that you can still make fun of are Germans and bisexuals, and we can keep Germans on the list as far as I'm concerned, but we got to take bis off the list. We can't
German
bisexuals. We can't continue to be the butt of the.
They're called bisexuals.
All right, fascinating stuff. Ask Steffi's nephew as we continue. It is 19 minutes after the hour. The Stephanie Miller Show. Yeah, look, it's Fred with his Uncle Paulie. Hey, everybody, my tiny baby nephew, Paul Fitzgerald, is here live in studio with us.
Not exactly a tiny baby.
He's the most handsome, romantic, talented man in the world. He is shopping around. A script, as they say. It's a fabulous script. And it is about this very subject of the New York Times Magazine about bisexual men. Or, people in general. But this one, the piece focuses on
the dudes.
On the dudes.
Yeah. And anyway, hilarious script. He was in Walter Mitty with Ben Stiller, who was a huge fan.
Good guy.
I like to
Ben.
brag about my baby nephew. Oh, someone tweeted us that we should do a reality version of Grey Gardens.
Yeah, we beat you to the punch on that one.
Yeah,
I'm working on a
Already there.
Fab meets Grey Gardens. A little more booze than
Grey Gardens.
Grey Gardens, a little less.
He's an Irishman, Mr. Fitzgerald. There's a little bit of a...
Goodness. Well, Mama breaks open the wine at 4:30. It's a little difficult to come home and
I saw her wine shipment arrive on Friday.
Listen.
Wow.
You want a humbling experience? Mama thought she lost her cell phone over the weekend. She's like, I think I dumped it in the recycling bin. Could you go look for it? I mean to tell you, to dig through the bottles and cans we accumulated over the weekend.
Find the cask of Amontillado down there?
Was really something to behold.
Wow.
I was like, wow, who drank all this wine and beer?
Wow.
Who's been here?
Just us.
Just two teetotalers.
Now the reality show has come magically full circle. This is it. This is my life. My tiny baby nephew and I. And we are Grey Gardens, but with dogs.
Just shuffling away our days in pajamas and glasses of wine and two big furry white dogs.
I want to see Steffi do the patriotic dance.
Sue in Rockville, you're on with my tiny baby nephew, Paul.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Sue.
I have a little bit of advice for you.
Sure.
For the entire time you're staying there, would you just admit that you are older than Steph? Because every time she introduces you, first she was 10 years older than you, then she was 9 years older than you. Now she's down to 8 years.
7 or 8, something like that.
So just change and you'll be good. That's number one.
Yeah, back in the day in Hollywood, Sue, when I still cared about, how old people thought I was, like, don't say you're my nephew. Say you're my cabana boy, something.
No, I would always explain to people that she's more like a sister. More like just a barely older sister, really.
When he first came here, Sue, all his friends were like, dude, you're living with your aunt?
Like somewhere there's candy?
My sister-in-law is only 18 months older than my husband, and he has the bruises to show every time he doesn't admit he's the oldest one. He gets a kick.
My sister, his mom, is 18 years older than I am, and I do remember that one time when we were somewhere, they said, oh, who's older?
Yeah, you never asked that. Stephanie, can I say one other thing?
Yes.
Okay. The world would be a far better place if we all loved people like Fred and Max. Because look at Fred. Between Jim and Paul, he doesn't care who's straight. He doesn't care who's bi. He doesn't care. We loved people the way dogs love people. We would be in a much better place.
God put dogs on earth to teach people how to love, Sue.
Yeah, well said,
exactly
Sue.
Right.
And by the way, we can confirm this in our own family. Fred, definitely gay. Max, totally straight. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. Fred is just as sweet and soft as they come. Was that a stereotype I gave people?
No, I can confirm. Fred cannot get enough of any male that comes in the house. And
so is
Max,
it Ace or Gary?
Max, with any of my girlfriends, totally creepy.
Oh, really?
Like Barry White.
Love.
Seriously.
rubbing up against for
the way
love.
he looks at them and just, hi. My.
Got everyone represented here in this.
Sniffing at inopportune moments. Max, stop it.
Places.
Okay. Dave in Minneapolis here on the Stephanie Miller Show with the tiny baby nephew. Hello, Dave.
Good morning, Mama. Paul, that comment you made, I'm going to use that forever. That globalization of personal experience. I thought that was just a brilliant comment, and I don't know that's original to you or not. You can take credit for it as far as I'm concerned, but
he is brilliant.
Applicability is. He is. Well, clearly the Miller family has something going on there with the genes, the smart genes, but. The applicability of that statement is across the board. American nationalism, religious issues. My experience is the norms. Therefore, everyone else should be just like me. And whether they're conscious of thinking that way, that certainly is the behavior that's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is one of the things that I'm, hoping to, or planning to explore in this TV show I've written, because it's using that idea as it relates to sexuality as a jumping off point to discuss just the type of stuff you're talking about. It's such a great platform, an applicable platform to talk about so many other issues, and that's kind of like the sort of the twist that I'm hoping to explore, dramatically.
If I could ask one additional thing, how do you respond then to also individuals who say, well, see, from a bisexual standpoint, you really weren't interested in men. You were just trying to figure things out, and now that you're like women, that's where you're going to stay.
He will answer that after the break on the Stephanie Miller.
Stephanie Miller.
What is wrong with me? I feel like two totally different people. Dr. Jekyll and Mrs. Four.
You're listening to the best of the Stephanie Miller Show.
Stephanie Miller Show, starring my tiny baby nephew, Paul Fitzgerald, who is a brilliant actor, writer, director, hot, bisexual. You know what that did, Chris?
What?
That just opened up the plethora of $1,000 stalkers.
That's right.
They'll pay Free Speech TV $1,000 to come visit Mama at home because, right?
That's right.
Men, women.
4 more days. Come find me in the Barker
Right?
Lounger. First one on the left when you go into the living room.
Like I need more catnip for this $1,000 stalker contest. Freespeech.org. Do it. All right. Dave in Minneapolis, before the break, you had a quick question for Paul. Go ahead, Dave. Just say one more time.
I was asking. Actually, no, I have an additional one. First of all, would you lend me $1,000 so I can donate it to you so I can go meet your nephew?
No.
You have a fiance. Come on.
Yes, you're getting married soon.
I know, but I still have vision. Anyway, the second thing, the thing I originally was asking is, how do you, Paul, explain to people or say to people when they make the comment, well, see, you just had to figure out that you really were straight. You weren't really bisexual because now you experienced, the other side of things, and so therefore you must be interested. Because I had, when I was in the process, I was married and came out, and I had, more than one person say to me, well, I know your wife, and I can see why you're attracted to her, but maybe you just haven't met the right, a woman yet. And I went, no, that has nothing to do with my desire for plumbing. So how do you respond to that? Because this is fascinating to me. It really is.
I think, everyone's experience is different, certainly, but I think for me over time, I would be lying if I said, my process took anything more than just like a lot of time in the laboratory, Dave, of just sort of...
I've been there.
Really,
listen, I've picked up the empty beakers.
Were you knocking your test tubes together, is what you were saying?
The spilled beakers. For me, it was a long experience of really... taking the experiences and trying to figure out what they meant to me and how sort of deeply rooted they were in my person and whether and then eventually just starting to recognize that there was just their own kind of like parity between the experiences and even and so I stopped at some point trying to make one more true than the other and just started to accept that they were both true, which I just think is anathema and culturally, but also sometimes personally. It's for whatever reason. Listen, we live in a kind of black, white, with us or against us, and we make fun of those things. But there's the simplicity of with us or against us, or this or that is something. I think ambiguity is unnerving. It makes people anxious. Certainly.
It is.
Well, I was going to say, and also there's those, there's a lot of, what's the word? Whether it's just feelings about bisexuals, and they come from gay and straight. I talked to a straight woman friend. She's like, I'd never date, a bisexual guy.
Yeah.
Because there's he's going to be promiscuous. And yet I think it's interesting that, like you were saying, I don't know if there's a big difference between men and women. But, let's review, shall we?
The basics.
My long-term relationship, she was married to a man, and again, but now she's with a woman, my ex, as you know, and so I guess she would identify as gay now, but and there's famous women in Hollywood, whether it's Meredith Baxter or other people. Everybody, I have several friends that say, that have either been married to men and either say they didn't realize they were gay yet.
Sure.
Or maybe they identify as bi, or I've had at least 2 girlfriends that said I enjoy sex with men, I fall in love with women.
Right, yeah.
I think it's a different process for everybody, and why people can't respect that, I don't get either.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, to me, it's a shame. It's fine if, after being married to a man forever, you meet the woman, you realize I'm gay. Why would I have a problem with that? But it's a shame that you have to then feel like you have to go identify as gay, as opposed to just as a way of sort of refuting that entire last relationship you had. Like, that was never real, and now this is the real thing. I don't know why they can't both be real at different times in your life, and there's a different experience.
Right.
But that gets into this issue I'm seeing up on your board here about Bruce from why I'm jumping ahead in the queue. But I think that is this interesting idea of like why born this way, the implication that you can't be born bisexual. This idea that once things get caught in the kind of like you're this or that, to then change, you have to sort of say, well, to then do something different. You have to say, well, I was never that other thing. I'm now this new thing, as opposed to, no, I'm just somewhere in the whole spectrum of it. You know?
And I always wondered, am I unusual? But I probably, as I'm sitting here, can think of 10, maybe at least 10 women I know that have either were married to men or with a woman now, or the opposite way.
Yeah.
And you go, what do you say? Were they straight then and now they're gay, or they were gay then and now they're straight? I mean, I think that the true progress will be when we get rid of all these labels.
I know. Well, listen,
right?
The big funny thing about the bisexual thing is you'll hear this over and over within the bisexual community, so-called, as well as anywhere. It was just like, I hate the label bisexual. You hear that so often. I don't want to use the word. Yes, I'm in the spectrum somewhere. I'm fluid, but I don't want to use the word bisexual. I don't love the word any more than anyone else. Who wants to go around, to my nieces and nephews, I'm bisexual. Like, I don't want to talk about sex. Like, and that's why we lost eventually heterosexual or homosexual rather. And, gay became the rage because you took the word sex out of it. It's so fun.
Made it less clinical.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the label sucks. But I do think that I believe I came to the belief that going through the label period is just a necessary phase before you can get out of the label. You have to sort of own the label before you can get rid of the label, I think. And that's
Here's a Miller
bisexuality.
Fitzgerald family fun fact. Paul and I came out the same Christmas to our family. We call it coming out Christmas. And as I
call it upstaging.
Right, like a typical hammy actor, he totally upstaged my announcement to my sister.
Big moment.
I was like, what? Who cares about Paul? This is mine.
This is my moment.
Did you both plan it, or was it because she came out, you decided to?
Well, it's hard to say. Memory is so foggy. I don't remember if I was feeling a little like I needed to steal the spotlight. Give me the microphone, Mama. It was a give me a microphone, Mama moment.
Like, for instance, you want to go to Bruce, and apparently you're
right
hosting the show now. Bruce in Maine, you're on with Paul. Hi, Bruce. Hey, Bruce.
And Paul, Paul, you made reference to what I said, and it was like, when I was young, the first person I had a crush on, without having any bias anyway, was a guy, and my next crush was a girl, and I married a woman and spent 12 years with her. I've been with a guy. It's like, I don't know why. I know how they use the born this way thing, but I was born this way. I'm not biased one way or another, and it's not from anything I learned or was taught or how to behave. I mean, obviously I knew being gay was wrong, in my generation, but I just always felt that way. So
right. And Bruce, I think I don't know if you read this Frank Bruni piece that Paul and I were talking about. Frank is gay, but he wrote a piece called "Born This Way." Like, it is the anthem, but should it be? And who knows what combination of genes or choice or environment. Khakis. Clearly, there must be some genetic component just based on this morning's evidence. However,
but the idea that Bruce is talking about is the idea of why, why does born this way, have to preclude being born by? And I don't think it does, Bruce. To your point, I think at some point in the process of the nomenclature, the idea of born this way became born this way or that way. Like that became implicit in the idea of born this way, is that you're either born gay or you're not born gay, or you're born straight, you're not born straight.
Well, and because people, like you say, have trouble with gray areas. They want black or white. And I think the fact is that I think sexuality is probably a spectrum. I think some people are born straight, some people are born gay, and I think an awful lot of people are somewhere, in the middle.
Yeah. You've been with a dude or two.
I have. Well, when I was coming out, I remember I was talking to the gay whisperer of the Stephanie Miller Show, Shelley Wright. She was kicking me out of the closet with her giant cowboy boot.
That's right. They're pointy.
Nosy. But I was saying, first of all, and a lot of us go through this, where you go, I actually, for the fact that I talk about my life at times for a living, I've been very private. Like, I don't talk about my actual private life because other people's privacy is involved as well. And so I think I was talking to her about it, and I said, well, I'm just private, and, yes, I felt like even for me it would hurt the movement back then that I was attracted to men or had been with men. Right. And she said, well, maybe you're bi. And I said, for me, I don't think that's authentic, because the last time I had a date with a man was in a Packard. So I don't really, because my primary relationships have been with women for many years. So I don't think it's authentic for me to say that, but.
And,
But by the way, my friend Rob still holds out hope that he's going to be with me, and then I'm going to come on the air and go, Mama's got something else to tell you.
What does Trish think of this?
He doesn't care about Trish.
Oh, God.
You saying I have to go bang Trish now? Okay.
Yes, and you need to comfort Trish.
Do it for the show.
Yes.
No, we both love and care about Trish. We're hoping she'll be fine.
I think my partner would do Trish.
Trish getting some love this morning.
Trish is hot. I'm just saying, nobody needs to worry about Trish in this whole situation of Rob and I ending up together.
I put the keys in the bowl with Trish.
He's been through a few ice storms here at the...
Oh, boy.
Oh, the hallways upstairs late at night.
I'm sure it gets a little messy.
A little handsy.
If the walls could talk in this house.
Good night. Good night. Good night, John Boy.
Mary Ellen?
What the hell? Ron in Connecticut. You're on.
No idea.
Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Mooks. And hi, Paul.
Hello.
Paul, I'm really, really thrilled that you're on the show and that you're talking about the New York Times article and bisexuality. I'm a bisexual activist myself and the editor of 3 books on bisexual men. And this has been, as you clearly understand, this has been a problem, is that either bisexuality is not spoken of, or when it is, it's spoken of as being a transient identity, that there's no there.
Right, you're like a sexual hobo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, I've tried making the point in emails to you, Stephanie, is like using expressions like bi-curious, they're not helpful.
Oh, you're talking about the woman that hit on me on the plane.
Yeah, she was curious.
Well, she was bi-curious. Well, she was curious as to whether she could shove her tongue in my mouth.
Bi-curious, though, did she?
Well, no,
maybe she's bike curious. She's wearing a bicycle.
No, we were at the bar in the Tucson airport, as you are.
Yeah, sure. Like you do at Tucson in the airport.
Right. There were flight delays, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Champagne.
No need to count the wine bottles in there. Anyway, and so, we were chatting, and she was showing me a guy she'd been dating on Match.com, and she was going to visit her kids, and she's divorced, and whatever. And so then she said, what about you? I'm like, I'm gay. And I'm just saying, suddenly there was this...
And suddenly the curiosity was piqued.
Right, and I'm just saying, during the flight, she just reached over like she was...
Well, had you been in Threeson, it could have gotten more interesting.
Hey!
Stephanie's a curiosity creator.
Tucson sounds like Tucson. Just saying.
In a related story.
She just, like she was offering me a mint, she said, could I kiss you?
Yeah.
And I said, oh, no, thanks.
Goodness.
Thanks.
Wow.
Right.
That's out of left field.
Yeah.
That's bi-curious, isn't it?
I think so.
Is that not helpful? Why is that not helpful for me to say bi-curious?
I don't have a thing with the bi-curious thing. But I can respect Ron. Sounds like he's been involved in the movement longer than me, so there may be some baggage with bi-curious. To me, it's kind of hot.
In a related story, a barge carrying 924,000 gallons of thick marine shipping oil collided with a ship near the Texas City dike on Saturday, and she was pissed. She was just livid.
What do you bring to this serious discussion? All right, 46 minutes.
There's only one?
46 minutes after the hour. Right back. Listen,
Why's your tongue out of your mouth?
It's a breakup song.
I thought she's having like a seizure. Someone get a pencil.
My tiny baby nephew, Paul Fitzgerald, who is turning the entire nation bi-curious this morning.
Let's do this, folks.
1-800-STEPH-12. We've counseled each other through, a few breakups. Let's just say.
Aww. We have loved and we have lost in this house.
Yes.
Your dog Fred, as I pointed out earlier, is tri-tip curious.
Oh, Jim. We were saying this is the cover of the New York Times Magazine is about a bisexual male seeking like-minded friends and legitimacy. How a new breed of activists is using science to prove there's something real between straight and gay. My fabulous actor, writer, director,
Stray
nephew.
or gate.
Has written a script that Ben Stiller is producing, and it's about this very subject. It's a bisexual man himself. But it's a hilarious script, actually. It's very funny.
It is. We're in the process of taking it out there for sale and hoping to get some content about bisexual males into the cultural pipeline.
He has to hide his relationship with a woman in the script. It's hilarious.
Yes,
and I believe the first scene, your boyfriend catches you having sex in a bathroom with a woman.
Wow. Spoiler alert.
Sorry. Oh. Well, it hasn't been produced yet, just saying.
Right.
But it should be. Hurry up. Mama needs some box from wine and kibble money. But anyway, and he was also the hole in Walter Mitty that fired everybody. One of the bearded holes. We were saying, that there's so many. I mean, this piece itself is great. We were talking about who am I thinking? Ellen Page.
Yes.
Just came out, and then we were right before that talking about Maria Bello's piece in the New York Times. I'm just reading through here. I have some people, bisexual women in Hollywood, I did not realize. Drew Barrymore I knew. Megan Fox. Hello. Although John Fugelsang has said that she's kind of like the weather in Florida, hot and unpleasant. Yeah. But I don't know if that's true. But anyway, and I think that's an interesting thing is, someone, Ellen Page talked about that, and it was so moving, I thought, just because she's a very pretty sort of, leading lady type in Hollywood and the pressures that come with that. And look at you, manly, March Madness watching, beer swilling guy. And you were saying, my favorite story is you were on a set once and you were playing a gay guy.
Yes.
And the director said what to you? Remember, he said it needs to be a little more...
flip of the wrist.
Yeah. He said, can you make it a little more like this? And he just went like that with his wrist.
And this is not that long ago, and I was like, wow.
Really?
Yeah. I was really like, oh, goodness. And I thought I was, God help us all, flouncing around as much as... this is what they wanted me to do. The joke in that case is that character on that show was not gay, so he wanted to push how gay I was seeming. But, of course... Boy, we got caught in the crosshairs of some really shaky political correctness there.
Wow.
Hollywood. You got to make a buck.
Oh, sure.
He has a master's. He's like, MBA? Really? It's come down to this.
More flip of the wrist. All right. So
okay.
That was his note.
Let's go back to one. I'll try it again.
Joshua in Albuquerque, you're on with Paul. Hey, Josh.
How you doing, Steph? I'd like to be the official 29-year-old bisexual man serving as Stephanie Mercer.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Good. Yep. Also, Paul, I can agree with you entirely because I'm a bisexual male, and when it comes to the label stuff, I have to say that the way I describe myself is gender indifferent because I have no preference to either.
Okay.
And
you're a Libra, aren't you? We know you're.
I think gender indifference. I've actually never heard. I've never heard that phrase. I think that's pretty great. I mean, my 2 cents on this, not that you asked for it, but because I got this big microphone in my face, is that, I think gender indifferent, I think fluid, pansexual, I've only become recently aware of how much infighting there is in the bisexual community about what term to use, and I can only say that I think, we're at a point in the sort of trajectory of this thing, we're at a movement point, which is like, we're really going to move on this topic, and I think, for better or worse, these things come down to branding. Like, people got to, you got 2 seconds in front of people's attention, and you got to be able to say what the hell's going on. And so you say bisexual as opposed to all these other things, which then just confuses people even more.
Right, but I think a lot of, and you and I have talked about this, that people politically involved in the marriage equality movement say, this does hurt us. We're like this close to the finish line of marriage equality nationwide, and this is catnip to the right wing, the Christian conservatives that go, see, it is a choice. You're not born that way.
I think that's true, and I think that, it's important to sort of address that front and center because that's, Frank Winter brings that up, sort of, that this will be used as a cudgel, by our enemies. But at the end of the day, I guess I'm a purist in that, you've got to build whatever you're building on a solid foundation, and whether, this cat gets let out of the bag now or after, like, we're going to have our moment. We're not just going to disappear, bisexual people aren't. So at some point we've got to confront. But again, I think to the point of someone earlier, like, being bisexual doesn't undermine being gay or straight. It doesn't mean that gay or straightness doesn't exist, Right.
And that's something I was saying in my own life. I thought, do I talk about this, the reality of, the women that I've been with? And does this hurt the movement? But you go there, truth is truth.
Truth is truth, man. You can't get away from it.
And it's interesting, speaking of Christian conservatives, this is a piece in the LA Times yesterday, how anti-gay Christians evangelize hate abroad. I mean, make no mistake. What these people are about, because they're losing the battle here. This is why this stuff is getting done in Uganda. This is American.
Nigeria and Russia. I mean, we're planting the seeds abroad.
And you come from Jerry Falwell's backyard, Lynchburg, Virginia.
Yeah, these guys, Scott Lively, this guy, who's led this delegation to Uganda and stuff. I mean, there's no question that we need to get our house in order so that we can take leadership where we've started to sow hate across the ocean. I mean,
what they did at Fred Phelps' funeral, fight hate with love. They had signs saying, "We're sorry for your loss."
There you go.
There you go. Fight hate with love.
Love them.
Paul Fitzgerald, how do we find out things about you if we're not related to you?
Listen, you know what? Find me at paulfitzgerald.com. I don't know whose website that is, not mine. But I can tell you one thing. I'll leave you with this. One of the most misunderstood thing about bisexual is that it's exhausting being attracted to both people, which means I need more sleep.
All right, goodbye. We'll see you.
Listening to the best of the Stephanie Miller Show. Steph and the Mooks are on vacation this week, but I am here. I'm Chris Lavoie, and we got a great best of hour for you this hour, including former President Jimmy Carter. He'll be joining us in segment 3. So sit back and listen to the best of the Stephanie Miller Show.
Sound like Katrina's drummer went on strike there for a second.
Yeah.
April Fool. All right, let's get it out of the way. Travis, all right. You know I don't like April Fool's prank humor.
Right.
Did you tell people you were booking Rachel Maddow's show again? Get out. Former President Jimmy Carter is not on. Look, he even got a prop book as if a former president's going to come on this show in a half an hour.
He might.
Oh, Travis.
Stay tuned and see.
This is Jimmy Carter. April Fool.
It's Jim, right? You booked Jim. He's going to go out there and call in.
I just built a house for you. You're welcome.
All right. Yes, we do. We have former president coming up in a... Also, for you, Jim, smoking hot race car driver Leilani Munter. Do you know who she is?
No, I don't.
She's never. What is her motto? Never underestimate a vegetarian hippie chick with a race car.
That's wow.
Right. She is a number. She's
she's like a Hawaiian Austrian.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the whole. She drives in her real life a Tesla. She's a big environmental activist.
Wow.
Awesome.
Does she race an electric car?
I don't believe so. We'll ask her
I don't
that.
think they do that.
Yeah, I don't think they can yet.
They have to all be electric.
Well,
right.
All right.
But anyway, she's fascinating. And because, by the way, we were just talking about New York Times yesterday, front page, horrifying. Charlie Pierce, who's also on today, writes about the latest climate change. It is just horrifying. It is literally the latest climate change report.
Yeah.
And as we were talking about yesterday, as they're finding in this search for the Malaysian plane, the ocean is just basically a garbage dump.
Full of crap.
Yeah.
Right. Right. By the way, Ed Schultz wouldn't take my call to find out what fishing crap is. I'm just kidding. I didn't call.
Okay.
What is fishing crap? What sort of things would be in there?
Nets.
Oh, okay. All right. And also...
Hooks.
Charlie Pierce and Bob Seska on the big show.
Sinkers, loaders.
Sounds like we're talking about something else.
I know. Something totally different.
But that's probably there, too.
It is. Well, it is a big toilet. That's the whole concept. The ocean's a big toilet.
Yeah.
All right. So, and Bob Seska has a great piece that I love. We know a little something about. Here, what do we say about this show? We are too liberal for conservatives and too politically incorrect for liberals.
Exactly.
And so, you've heard about this whole Stephen Colbert thing?
Yes. Oh, God.
Yeah.
I feel his pain.
Well, yeah, hello. I'm going to hell for Jim's Kim Jong-un impression if that's the case. But he writes a great piece about
Stop making fun of my haircut.
People. Stephen Colbert is not a racist. He is mocking the racist name of the Redskins. You know, what do you call it? Foundation that he tried to form to reach out to Native Americans.
Don't tell me I'm hypersensitive. I hate you and your ass face.
God's sakes. God's sakes. And of course, looky here. Why, what's that, Chris?
What?
AP is reporting that the healthcare overhaul on track to beat expectations with more than 7 million Americans signing up for health insurance by the deadline.
Well, that's the proof that it's a total failure.
Right. Or as Ted Cruz says, the number of people insured is actually going down.
Going down. Yes, that's less, not more.
Yeah. That's I believe.
And I do not like green eggs and ham.
Charlie Pierce writes about that today. That is their new thing, is just to deny the math. They did that on...
math is a liberal bias.
Right, on Meet the Press, and on they just said, no, they're cooking the books. Those numbers are not. That is...
What's your proof for that?
Remember they said that about the jobs numbers before the election? No, they are... That is... And in fact, they were right. They were revised upward. They were actually wrong. The big news was... Yeah. Remember that? They were like, the Russians like, they're cooking the British numbers. They're going to, you trust me after the election, they're going to be revised downward, my friends. Yes, and after the election, they were revised upward, so it was actually Jim Messina tweets, fact of the day, those signing up for Obamacare have seen premiums 15% cheaper than the CBO anticipated. So that part's not working out for you either, the whole catastrophic failure. Premiums going through the blah,
so
blah,
it's
blah.
more successful and cheaper.
Right. Than we had
bad
even.
how.
Right. And that's the only thing they've got to run on.
That's right.
2014. How's that working out for you? All right. So, yeah, lots to get to, obviously, about Obamacare. Unbelievable guest lineup today. Very, very exciting.
Huge lineup.
I came down. I couldn't believe this was my show. I thought I was being pranked. We'll see if I am.
Could be.
Okay. Could happen. Okay. Tom and Cindy, they were in, what do you call it, Sexy Liberal Saturday Night Staff. Thanks to you, John and Carlos, for a great show Saturday night. You are truly loved in Madison. Oh, I think that was demonstrated at the meet and greet. You have a unique talent in that you make all your fans feel like friends. Well, that's because I am
drunk.
Right, and have no sense of spatial relations. There's various pictures up
I love you. I know who you are, but I love you.
Jim remembers me at one party. We were actually on a chaise lounge out in my yard, and I was like on him like a koala, just, I love you. You're the greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
That was tequila night, I think.
Right.
Well, you did that to my friend Jeff, and he's gay. So,
Yeah, well,
I mean,
listen.
you made out with him.
All right, listen, if you go to Stephanie Miller Show Facebook, the pictures, did you notice that I'm on almost every listener like a koala?
Yeah.
It's just, it is not any
Like a
sort of people skill. I'm just needy.
A koala
I'm just
hugging
needy.
their face.
Right.
Yeah.
As you know, Sexy Liberal, the only time I actually leave the house.
Right.
So I'm very, very needy. As I said, I was the last person out of the meet and greet. They're like, oh, get out. Don't you have friends or a family? And get out.
Don't you have a plane to catch?
Yes, I did. P.S. Thanks for the good karma you brought, which I credit with giving us a Badger Final Four. Yeah, wherever Sexy Liberal goes, good things happen. Not to me, as Audra, who was there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she made a serenade for me of my travel woes?
Yeah.
Getting to Madison? Okay. Thank you, Audra.
Heading to the airport to go to Madison, Wisconsin. Steffi was just trying to get on a plane.
Right.
It's 6 a.m. Got plenty of time. But every time she'd get to the gate, they'd slam the doors in her face. So when I can hear Steffi cursing the sky.
Mother effer!
Well, it was a crap show.
Are you kidding me?
But
I gotta get
she
to Madison.
made it to the Barrymore in time.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? You want me to run through this airport again on my tiny brittle bird legs? Mommy, help me. You son of a mother. Run. Oh, God. This is bull. Run. Oh, you.
That was fairly accurate, but with a lot more swear words.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Cool. Thank you, Audra. All right. And speaking of which, Sexy Liberal, next one up, Chicago with the Mooks, with Mookage.
With mooks and vipers.
Can you put Mookage in baggage, I wonder? I don't know, or in the overhead. All right, so go to Sexy Liberal Facebook.
I got a bag of vipers in the overhead.
Oh, and my costume designer from my disastrous late-night TV show was at the show. She lives in Madison, and we posted pictures of me and I guess it's George Washington and in some clock dress. I don't remember.
That's a Salvador Dali dress.
Who can remember? It's a clock, right? I had a clock hat.
Hello,
Yeah, it was
Dali.
It was.
Oh, you know what it was for? Daylight savings
Salvador,
time.
Okay, it was Salvador Dali's famous
The melting
painting.
clock.
Yeah.
Right. It was for daylight savings time, and I had other dancers.
The persistence of vision is what
The persistence
Right.
of vision.
that painting is called.
¿Qué es esto en español?
I don't know.
Okay, right. Okay. All right, so, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, because everywhere we go, Sexy Liberal magic ensues, as you know. And also, I'm better than Pip the Psychic Goat, who is a fraud. So all of you, Jim, I don't know if you use him
I'm so disillusioned.
for your soccer bets.
The
The
psychic
Pip the Psychic Goat sucks, everybody.
But the octopus was dead on. He was
Yes!
Yes.
That one, and now, unfortunately, is
dead.
dead.
Went.
It's the problem.
Unfortunately, he's calamari.
Look, just wherever Sexy
Calamari
Liberal goes,
squid.
that's where your bet is. That's who's going to win. Just trust me. Where was our last show of 2013? Seattle.
Oh, that's right.
Seahawks. Okay. Just saying. Badgers. Final Four. A Psychic Goat is in a bad way this morning.
Oh.
I'm just reading from HuffPost. After everyone realized he's a fraud and a liar, Pip the Psychic Goat, it was in a soccer match, Jim. I can't even pronounce Cheltenham, whatever.
Cheltenham.
Right.
That's where Brian Jones is from.
Anyway, he guessed wrong. Wrong. Pip the Psychic Goat.
Oh.
The folks who are training Pip hope that he will enjoy the same success as Paul the Octopus, who correctly predicted the results of 7 of Germany's games in the World Cup.
Either you got it or you don't. You can't train
Right. You can't exactly. It's like comedy. You're either you're born with it, you can't learn it.
Exactly.
Because there's timing involved.
Right.
Yes.
Thanks, Jim. Teddy Bear the Porcupine correctly predicted the better of two teams facing off in Super Bowl 48, the Seattle Seahawks. Okay, so did Sexy Liberal. But anyway, so nobody really is in the running to replace Paul the Octopus. But just saying. You're listening from OTB.
Good thing he wasn't wrong, because porcupines can get a little prickly.
Hey! No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Really? You did. No, you did. Yeah, you did. All right, can I have some love music? Because speaking of animals, you know what? Fred is starting to get more love letters and fan mail than all of us put together.
Which one is this?
That's fair.
Okay.
Oh my God! Stop asking that. Fred's half of Max's size.
They're both
or
giant
as Carlos
white
calls
dogs.
him, cruise ship.
He's lying on his side. How can I tell how big he is?
Okay. Kat writes, Steph, is it love? This is Bo Biden. Remember?
Bo Biden. Yes.
She's a great parent named Bo Biden. Dear Fred, I don't know if I can be in gay love with you since my balls were removed at 8 months. But the way you roll your eyes when the man pets you makes my pimento show.
What?
Pimento.
Oh. Ooh.
I'm thinking I might be bisexual. What do you think, Fred? See you in my dreams. Bo Biden from Masasa, Florida. Oh, look how handsome and romantic Bo Biden is.
Bo Biden. Smiling.
Yeah. All right. All right.
Makes...
Just let it go.
I can't. Something like that?
Those one of those on the bubbles. Should I read that and then you have to like shine a spotlight on it?
I could never enjoy a martini again.
All right. So that just happened.
Right.
And in like 10 minutes, a former president will be on the show. So you can't get that kind of magic just anywhere. All right.
And we're not talking Millwood Fillmore either. We're talking about a successful president.
Yes, former President Jimmy Carter on the big show coming right up. All right, 18 minutes after the hour. Kids, you ever been the victim of identity theft?
Yes.
I have. You have? And who would want your identity? The point is...
Tons of people would.
Apparently. For instance?
The point is, I was in the middle of buying a house when this happened, and it sucks. It sucks.
Oof.
Yeah. Identity thieves are shrewd. They are targeting your checking, savings account. They're after your cash, your retirement. It has become a serious and complex crime. I feel so much better now that I have LifeLock Ultimate. LifeLock, I trust them to help protect my identity and my bank accounts from takeover fraud. People are so technologically advanced these days, even more so than when this happened to me way back when.
Oh, of course.
I'm sure you read a story a day about this. There was an Alabama man. He's been sentenced to 5 years in federal prison for leading a multi-state identity fraud ring. A lot of these times, these things are multi-state. Mm-hmm. He obtained personal information from different sources and paid others to serve as runners to help obtain tax refund money. He and a co-conspirator organized trips to other states during which the runners would use debit cards loaded with fraudulently obtained tax refunds to make withdrawals. The runners then would provide the cash to the man and his co-conspirator. Stuff you could never even think about yourself, but you need protection from it. LifeLock services can't protect you or your bank accounts if you're not a member. Visit LifeLock.com right now. Check it out. Enter the promo code Miller10 or call and use the promo code Miller10 for my special 10% discount. That's promo code Miller10 to get my special 10% discount. The number's 800-499-1070. Get it? 800-499-1070. That's 800-499-1070. Or you can go right to, where did I say it? Where's LifeLock.com. If you are a computer-type person, LifeLock.com. Don't forget the promo code is Miller10. 19 minutes after the hour, we roll along on the Stephanie Miller Show.
They play this at Gitmo, right?
Yeah.
To get people to talk?
Yep.
I thought so.
All right. Replace waterboarding. 24 minutes after the hour, 1-800-STEP-1-2, the phone number. Toll free from anywhere. Vice President Biden yesterday on Rachel Ray.
Any young person listening, if you don't need this for your peace of mind, do it for mom. Do it for your dad. Get health coverage. Do it for mom.
Do it.
Do it.
Fred says do it.
Yep. Apparently they did it.
Yeah, I mean, this is just hilarious. Charlie Pierce writes a great piece. We'll talk to him next hour about that. This is what happens when Republicans are confronted with this. They just go into like denial of math.
Yeah.
Just like their climate change and science denial in general. It's like
no.
No, they're cooking the books. Really?
Let's see the books.
Yeah.
What sauce do they put on it?
Yeah. Or as I was saying, or Ted Cruz said, no. He bases it on nothing. No, the number of people getting health care is going down. Although if
he didn't produce numbers to back this up?
Actually, I have some. Here it is. Let's see from the LA Times. Yeah, yesterday, at least 9.5 million people previously uninsured have gotten health insurance since Obamacare started. That's actually would be a lot. Actually, about more. Right. That would be right. Okay. So
Up is down.
Yeah,
down
and
is up.
Everybody's made such a big deal about this 7 million number, and of course, as it turns out, it's going to be more than 7 million people.
Oh, well, see, he lied about it. Ha-ha, it's more than 7.
I'm sure they'll come out today and say April Fools. We're just kidding. Whoever. Remember there was one Republican we played I can't remember, from a Sunday show that said it's in single digits.
Right.
The people that have signed up for Obamacare is in single digits. Right.
Right. Millions of single digits.
Right. Right. Okay. Hey, how about this headline? Obamacare enrollment drives secret weapon, radio.
What?
For months, the media story of how President Obama sold Obamacare to America has started unconventional outlets like Funny or Die, unconventional pitches like Mom Jean's message for Twitter, unconventional sales reps like Kobe Bryant, on and on and on. Mm-hmm. A look inside the Affordable Care Act's all-out enrollment drive shows for all the talk about social media and unorthodox strategies, the administration relied heavily in the final stretch on a century-old way to reach the public. Radio? Why, how antiquated and old. I certainly hope we got some of that ad money.
Crickets.
It's been another edition of Liberals Just Don't Get It. See, the Koch brothers buy all these ads on right-wing radio to prop them up because Rush Limbaugh scared away all the advertisers because of the Sandra Fluke thing, which is hilarious. But see, then they prop those shows up, whereas, like, Democrats, they don't buy ads on our shows because they're like, oh, we already have those people. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I? Bitter? Party of one. Your
Wow.
rated.
Are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
On Monday, senior Obama advisor Valerie Jarrett did her first radio interview at 8:30. By 6:30 p.m., she was on her 21st, bringing her total over the past 6 weeks to 82.
Wow. We weren't on that list.
Travis, did we get on that list? What? It's weird. Did we? Huh.
On that list.
She talked to Texas and Wills and Snyder in the morning in Cleveland. What
Snyder in the morning?
Wills and Snyder.
Wills and Snyder in the morning? Showboy in the morning in Texas?
Showboy?
What?
That's the gayest radio name I've ever heard.
What?
Hey.
Overall, top administration officials and celebrity surrogates have taken part in some 300 individual radio interviews.
300?
Oh, is it too late now? Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I'm sure there's a much bigger, demographic there on Showboy.
Well, maybe if you weren't such an Obama apologist, they wouldn't feel the need.
Right, I guess I'm going to start talking right now.
Exactly.
So that he will call to bring me back around.
That's what you need to do.
I'll be like, oh, Mr. President, you had me at hello.
That's what you need to do. They felt like they didn't need to come on here because they already got you.
Well, listen, there's a lot of naysayers in the audience and in the room. They need to, this is the first place they should be coming
your
on.
name is on the show.
And buying ads, lots of ads.
The Stephanie Miller Obama Apologist Show. That's...
You shit, you pie hole. All right, Vice President Biden on... What, a cooking show? This is a cooking show.
Well,
we just made pasta, didn't we? A week ago.
It's a cooking and lifestyle show.
Right.
They are able to, even if the deadline closes, to stay in line. They can get into the system.
Yeah, that's right. That's what all the extension is about. People are already in the system get to finish up is all. Huh. Who would be against that? Oh, I know. People that have always wanted it to fail. Okay, Jay Carney, the president's president.
Just like when you vote on Election Day, if you're in line and the polls close, you get to vote.
What?
Well...
Is that legal?
Well, not in some places anymore.
Oh.
No. All right. One more. Jay Carney. Yesterday.
It's about delivering on a promise that the Affordable Care Act embodies and that the president made and that many presidents prior to him tried to make.
Yeah. So there. Neener. Nanny, boo-boo. I just said that, and now next, President Jimmy Carter.
Right.
As we continue on the Stephanie Miller Show. This morning, I believe George W. Bush finished another dog painting. And I'm guessing Jimmy Carter may already have won another Nobel Prize and written another best-selling book. This one, Jimmy Carter, A Call to Action. What an honor to say good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning, Stephanie. It's good to talk to you and folks all over the country, I understand.
Yes, let's hope so. Let's hope it's not just us. It's funny. I think, was it Bill Maher that said to you, we sort of joke, but you have done, I would say, arguably more in your post-presidency than any president in our history. And yet, I wonder how you feel about the way the right wing still talks about you.
Well, I don't really let that bother me. Rosa and I have had programs in 80 different countries around the world, and we concentrate on very important issues that no one else is trying to address. And I think this one that I just wrote the book about is perhaps the most important issue that I've ever had to bring to the public's attention, because it's the worst human rights abuse maybe in history, and it's really not known by people in this country or around the world.
Well, the name of the book, once again, A Call to Action, Women, Religion, Violence, and Power. And you do actually say this you think is maybe one of the most important issues of our time. Talk to us about it, because you work through the Carter Center. You've traveled all over the world, clearly, and, worked on so many of these issues. What moved you to write this book in particular at this time?
Well, we became familiar with the life of women, all over Africa and Asia and Latin America and also the United States in our work, and I began to see increasingly clear how terrible the abuse was. As a matter of fact, we estimate there were about 40 million people killed in the Second World War, which is the worst conflict we've ever had. 4 times that many little girls have been strangled by their parents at birth, or either aborted when they find out the fetus is going to be a female, because they want a boy instead of a girl, and because the government puts limits on how many children they can have, or either their family's too poor to feed the children. So that's just one of the things. In a country like Egypt, for instance, 90% of the women have had their genitalia cut, and in other countries even a little bit more. And so this is what goes on, and not many people know or care about it. But I think even worse for us, at least, for the people in this country, is what happens in the United States of America. The State Department is now required by Congress to make a report every year on slavery, and they estimated that last year 100,000 little girls, young girls, were sold into sexual slavery in the United States alone. And Atlanta happens to be the #1 trading post for sexual slavery. And 2 of the worst institutions for sexual abuse is the university system, almost every university in America, and also the military. So those kind of things take place, and everybody looks the other way and don't address them, but it's a horrendous blight on our society.
Well, and it's interesting, as a professor, I know that you regularly ask your class, when did women gain the right to vote in the U.S.? And inevitably, of course, students say 1920 with the 19th Amendment, but you say, people forget it was the Voting Rights Act of 1965 when women of color just gained the right to vote.
That's exactly right. A lot of people in the classroom, don't realize that African American women didn't get the right to vote until the Civil Rights Bill.
And I know you're obviously a deeply religious man, a Christian. You were a Sunday school teacher, right, for over 70 years, but you left your denomination in 2000, in part over the treatment of women. That must have been a painful choice for you. Tell us about that.
Well, it was. I had been a member of the Southern Baptist Convention all of my early life. I was a deacon, and I was a Sunday school teacher. My daddy was before me. But when the Southern Baptist Convention decided in the year 2000 to make women subservient to men and to prevent them from being pastors or deacons or chaplains in the Army, and they even prohibit women in some seminaries from teaching a classroom if a boy is in the class. So these kinds of things really made me feel that I was not in the right denomination. So Rosa and I now belong to a small Baptist church in Plains, Georgia, and we've had women pastors. My wife is a deacon, and in fact half the deacons are now women, and so forth. So we give equal treatment in our church to women and men, just exactly the way Jesus Christ did and taught.
I mean, it is interesting that, what people obviously over history have done in the name of God, but it's interesting that you go right to that in this book. What does religion have to do with gender inequality? Because around the world, it really is as you say, took it through some of it: slavery, genital cutting, infanticide, child marriage, rape, honor killings, and clearly, as you say, in places plagued with poverty, it's women and children who suffer most, right?
Yes, well, in the Christian church, a lot of the policies were changed after the 3rd century, and now, of course, in the Catholic Church, which I really admire, they don't permit women to be priests or deacons, and I believe that St. Paul, and I already mentioned Jesus, St. Paul taught that everyone is equal in the eyes of God. Women and men, slaves and masters, and Jews and Gentiles are equal in the eyes of God. And Paul, in his 16th letter to the Romans, pointed out about 25 people who had been heroes in the early church at all levels of authority, and about half of them are women. So that was all changed more recently, and I think it's a very bad thing. In the Quran, by the way, it's very difficult to find any verses in the Quran that don't prescribe exactly equal treatment for men and women.
Well, it's interesting. It's refreshing to, first of all, it's not like you're saying you have a plan to fix the Muslim world, but what, in your experience in talking to women in those countries about their circumstances, how do you feel like what could we do to change them, or how could they change them?
Well, I mentioned, the Carter Center has conducted about 100 troubled elections, and we have just as good a result in the Islamic world as we do in the other parts of the globe. In fact, the largest Islamic country in the world is Indonesia, and the Carter Center monitored their first 2 democratic elections there. So I don't think you can draw a distinction between Islam and Buddhism and Hinduism and Christianity and Judaism, because all of them in some communities distort the Holy Scriptures to warrant their men being superior to men and abusing women and taking advantage of them economically and socially.
Mr. President, I know that you've heard the news this morning that we already have passed the 7 million goal in terms of signing up for health care, for the Affordable Care Act. I know that you've said that women have been the key to the Carter Center's success in every health project. Yes. Tell us what you mean by that.
Well, when we go into foreign countries, quite often in Africa, in those small villages in the jungle and in the desert, we have found in the last 35 years that quite often women are excluded from any sort of leadership position. But when we go in to eradicate a disease or to deal with a very troubling issue, even involving agriculture, we very soon find that the women play the key role in finding a solution and in leading the community. For instance, women are in charge of diet, obviously. They're in charge of sanitation. They train the children how to wash their faces and so forth. They give them the right food. And also, quite often, women, when we teach them how to deal with a disease, they are welcomed in their neighbor's house, whereas if we trained a man to do that, and quite often the men won't volunteer to do it, then the men have a hard time being admitted to a neighbor's house because he might be abusive or something like that. So we have found that when women are given a chance, they really exalt themselves and really show that they are natural leaders in almost every aspect of life.
It's interesting. I'm, reading the background on, again, where this particular book came from. You compare your women's degradation to the double standard you witnessed in the segregated South during your youth.
Well, it was the same way. I grew up in Archery, Georgia, near Plains. We had one white family, that was ours, and about 55 African-American families. And it was during the Great Depression. It was also during the time where separate but equal was the law of the land. And it was separate, but it certainly was not equal. So I saw then that a few white people deplored the racial segregation, but they didn't want to change it much because the white people enjoyed the advantages of superiority. In economy, we got the best jobs, we got the best education. We were the ones that voted, and the black people were not permitted to vote. We served on the jury, and they didn't. So we kind of took advantage of it and didn't want to make any real changes. But I saw from just an early childhood that this was a very terrible blight, not only on our black neighbors, but also on the white people ourselves. And, of course, the South has made great progress since those days when I was a boy.
At the end of the day, after you've completed this latest book, are you hopeful about the opportunities for women in the future? Or
I am. I hope that every woman who's interested in helping her own kind will get the book and study it and join with me and the Carter Center in the rest of my remaining years to correct some of these problems. Because quite often when the issues are publicized, when people become aware of them, then they are ready to join in and maybe make some corrective action.
Speaking of women, do you have any marriage tips? Because you have one of the longest, best marriages I can remember in American politics.
Well, we just got 68 years so far.
Wow. You kids are just getting started.
Congratulations.
Well, Rose and I give each other plenty of space. She gives me my instructions, and I generally carry them out. She's an excellent cook and a dietitian. We get a lot of exercise. And so, and we try to make sure that before we go to sleep every night, we resolve any differences that might have arisen during the daytime. So we've learned to be more accommodating to each other as time goes on.
Well, getting your instructions, is that why a call to action is the name of the book? Is you actually, as a former president, here, Jimmy, it's time to take the garbage out, stuff like that?
It treats me as equal.
The book is a call to action, Women, Religion, Violence, and Power. Former President Jimmy Carter, what an honor. Thank you so much, sir.
I've enjoyed being with you. Very pleasant.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Mr. President.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow.
Did you ever think on this show I'd say goodbye, Mr. President?
So that was Jim the whole time?
Right.
Doing the voice?
April Fool, everybody!
I built a house while I was doing it, too.
There's a little bit of Bill Clinton in that.
No, you did not build a house. All right, 45 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller Show. The Stephanie Miller Show. A former president called me pleasant.
That's the first time anybody's ever called
Love you, unpleasant. I think that may be the first time that's ever been applied to me. He thought it was very pleasant. President Carter did.
Well, it was. I mean, you didn't make me fart jokes, so you got that going for you.
We were very pleasant.
Start him up for the rest of the show.
You didn't do anything dirty, which I appreciate.
Exactly. And that was a really
Boy, I
good.
like you.
Those are really good marriage tips. I think those crazy kids are going to make it.
You think so?
I think they're going to make it 70 years together.
68
They're
years.
68 years.
That's amazing.
Right? Doesn't it feel like you've been with me 68 years?
Good Lord.
Okay. All right. So that was exciting, wasn't it, everybody? 1-800-STEP-1 to the phone number, toll free from anywhere. Von Seal in Asheville already texted me. Great interview. Why, thank you, Von Seal. See, Obama administration, you can call in the show. I won't bite.
She'll be pleasant.
I'm pleasant. Can we get some new marketing stuff made up? Stephanie Miller, pleasant.
She's pleasant.
Jimmy
2014.
Jimmy Carter says pleasant. You know, listen, that's about the best I can hope for at this point.
I was pleasantly surprised because I heard some things about him.
I thought it would be a horror show. But... No, because I was just reading this article because, you know, I am very...
pleasant?
And bitter.
Oh, okay.
Which is a weird combination.
Yeah, I know.
Pleasant, bitter,
pleasantly
drunk.
bitter.
What about how one of the... Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, what's happening?
Oh,
What's happening?
geez.
What's happening? Okay. I assumed I did that.
No, I did that.
Okay.
Because I'm decidedly unpleasant.
You are so unpleasant.
I know, right?
Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, just because, you know, this is my personal bugaboo, but how one of the ways that Obamacare enrollment has gone over 7 million, they think is the old-fashioned way, radio. Oh, look at this, Chris. People have an attachment to their drive time choice and tend to trust it more than the bewildering array of news sources online or on television. How many times have I said, the American airwaves do not belong to me or Sean Hannity. They belong to the American people.
Right.
And there ought to be more fairness in broadcasting. The fairness doctrine's not coming back. I'm just saying, wealthy liberals, get busy. Buy some stations. Let's go.
Right.
All the radio groups are owned by right-wing...
ass hats.
Right. Except for the couple that we're still on. We love you. Okay. But yes, in our fine stations in Chicago and Minneapolis, owned by wealthy liberals, God bless them, everyone. One commentator said radio in many ways is more targeted than television is, and you sometimes see radio hosts be more advocates for a cause than their cable TV counterparts. It's talk radio, not news radio. That's right. What a delightful place to sell a book or something else if you're a former president or whoever you are. All right.
Millard Fillmore's on line 2. Yeah.
Great. Hello. All right. Yeah, there's something about, by the way, liberals succeeding at capitalism that makes right-wing go ape-dump.
Yep. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be communists.
Our latest
Sean Hannity said so.
Our latest sexy liberal hacking something thing, people got notified that the Albuquerque show was last night. It's not till May 10th. Go to sexyliberal.com or Sexy Liberal Facebook. They're finding new and different ways to try to sabotage us. Chicago coming up next, and there's only, I think, less than 20 VIP tickets left, the meet and gropes.
Oh, dear.
And these two are going to be there. Right?
Hello. Oh, hiya, Sandy. What, you don't say? What? Chris LaVoy and Jim Ward, you're pulling my leg. What? No? You're not? OMG. I got to get working on my Chicago accent so I can have some fun with Jim.
Sexy liberals everywhere.
Whoa.
Oh, my gosh. Look at there. It's Chris. Oh, with Stephanie and Carlos, too.
lifers.
Yeah.
So I've been working on my Chicago accent. Wacka. Why? I just met her. And I've been powerlifting so I can arm wrestle with that gorgeous hunk of a man, Chris LaBoy. Yeah. The Stephanie Miller Sexy Liberal Comedy Tours. Next up is the Chicago Theater.
Yeah.
April 24th, 8 p.m.
Oh, April 26th.
175 North State Street in Chicago, Illinois. 60601. And don't forget your pashmina and your bag of glass.
Oh, dear.
It's there.
All right. Thank you, Audra. We're getting sabotaged by our own people. It's April 26th. April 26th. Oh, dear God.
April 36th.
Recut that, Audra?
It's April 96th.
What?
Okay. Danette in Georgia, the home state of former President Jimmy Carter. Hello, Danette.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
That was an awesome interview.
Oh,
and if
thank
the
you.
Obama administration continues to ignore you, I just don't know what I'm going to do.
Danette, I will not be ignored.
Well, this is obvious. This is obvious.
Yes.
This is obvious.
Yes.
I'm not going to be ignored. I wanted to say that I'm so thankful that former President Carter, who is white and male and Christian, had the courage to stand up and say that Christianity is just as villainous as any other religion on the planet for the treatment of women.
Yes.
It's fabulous. I think
Yeah.
it's wonderful. I'm a Christian,
He was today's-
and I hang my head in shame when Christians go on their rant about how Muslims mistreat women. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Come on, people.
Yeah, exactly. He was our ecclesiastical mook today.
He was.
Until John Fugelsang
Yes,
gets here
he
on
was.
Friday. Yeah, no, I mean, and you're right, and it's a very, it's a very sensitive subject, but it really is. It's amazing because he covers like all religions too. It's not, as you say. I mean, don't you just hate how the right continues to vilify him?
Yeah, and it's so disrespectful. I mean, it is just disrespectful. And he is just, when he said it doesn't bother me, you know, and he's got a mission to do and he's got things to do, and he said he's got more important things to do
Well, he's not.
than to worry about them. I just think it's fabulous. It's really wonderful. He's awesome.
He's not worry enough.
No, exactly. I mean, right? Didn't that in relation to this latest thing in Russia? Oh, he's like Carter. Obama's like Carter. It's like, oh, you mean who didn't get us into any wars?
Yeah.
Unlike George, what should he be more like George Bush? You know, who just, like I said, who just finished another naked poodle painting or whatever the hell he's doing. Jimmy Carter's busy saving the world and winning Nobel Prizes.
A naked poodle painting?
Negotiating
He does either
peace
pictures of
and-
himself naked or, dog, something, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you wonderful, Stephanie. I'm just so very proud of you.
See?
Wonderful,
Aw,
great job.
See, I can class it up.
She's very pleasant.
I'm pleasant, you know.
She's pleasant. She's darling.
Pleasant and gassy.
And she's farterific.
Thank you.
She's wonderful.
Thank you, Danette. Thank you so much. Thank you. Finally, the respect that I'm entitled to. 58 minutes after the hour. We got Charlie Pierce coming up. We got much more. Don't go away. It's the Stephanie Miller Show.